What's up, everyone? Mr. NoobTube Gamer. Today we're playing Battlefield Hardline in the year 2021. This game was very polarizing in the Battlefield series. There were a lot of people that hated this game and think that it's one of the worst games in the entire Battlefield series because for a lot of people it felt like a downgrade compared to the previous game in the series, Battlefield 4. For me personally, I had a lot of fun with Hardline. I think it was a nice change of pace for the Battlefield series. I kind of feel like the whole modern military setting was being drawn out at that point. I mean, we had Battlefield 3, then we had Battlefield 4. It was time to do something different for the series, and Hardline was a spin-off. It was not a mainline entry in the Battlefield series. It was not developed by DICE. It was made by Visceral Games, the same people responsible for the Dead Space trilogy. Amazing franchise, which unfortunately is dead, and so is Visceral Games. Not too long after the development of Battlefield Hardline, Visceral Games was shut down by EA, which is very unfortunate because they were a really good studio, but that's EA for ya. They fucking suck. So we're actually playing Hardline on the Xbox One, which is kind of not what I usually do when I play Battlefield games on this YouTube channel. I usually, almost all the time, I'm playing on PC. The only games that I did not play on PC were Bad Company 1 and Battlefield 1943, which were not available on the PC. They were console exclusive. And while Hardline obviously is on PC, the reason why I'm not playing the PC version, it's very simple. No one's playing Hardline on PC anymore. Actually, I went through the server browser, I tried to find at least one game of Hardline. I could not find a single server that had any players online. Hardline is completely dead on PC. Then I go over to the Xbox One version because I have Game Pass Ultimate. I didn't actually pay for it. I had like the 3-month trial for $1. And I downloaded Hardline on the Xbox One, and I found so many full servers. It was crazy. There were 2 full servers of TDM, 64 players each. There were 2 full servers of Conquest, 64 players each. And you also had all the other game modes. You had Heist, Blood Money. I even found a full Hotwire server. So almost every game mode you can think of in Battlefield Hardline, you still have almost full servers for each game mode, which I found to be crazy, considering that this game had a lot of negative reviews. The Battlefield community was shitting on this game when it came out. But all that considered, the game is still very healthy, has a very healthy player base in 2021, at least on consoles. On PC, you won't find a single match, which I found very interesting. I wonder why the game is so popular on console, but has almost no player base anymore on the PC. I guess the PC community with Battlefield, they really didn't appreciate this game, but the console players loved it. I'm not exactly sure why that is. I find that very weird because usually Battlefield has a stronger community on PC than on console, especially when we're talking about the older ones like Battlefield 3 and Bad Company 2. The PC community is usually really active. So I found that very surprising that I could not find any match on PC, but had no problem finding any game at all on the Xbox One. I'm sure the same thing is also true for the PS4, because the PS4 has an even stronger player base in the Battlefield series than the Xbox One, because more people bought PS4s than Xbox One. So yeah, so that's the thing. If you're looking to play this game in 2021, the first thing you need to know is to just completely avoid the PC version. Even if it's included with your EA Play subscription, you're not going to find a match. You're just not going to on PC, so don't even bother installing it. And of course, there's a single-player campaign, but nobody plays a Battlefield game just for the single player. The single players in Battlefield are not known for being very high quality compared to other FPS games. They just feel like tacked on and not really thought about that much. Like, I don't remember anything that happened in the Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4 campaigns. And I could say the same thing about Battlefield Hardline. It was just like a procedural crime drama, you know, like those shows like Blue Bloods and NCIS. Think about all those shows. If you're into that shit, if you want to like experience that in video game form, then I guess Hardline will be a cool single player experience for you. But me personally, I'm not a big fan of those TV shows, so I really wasn't digging the campaign that much. It wasn't bad, it's just, you know, the single player is a single player, right? We all play Battlefield for the online multiplayer experience, the 64 players, the large-scale battles, and I guess that's the reason why people were disappointed because Hardline, took this whole cops and robbers aesthetic and didn't really have any of the military vehicles that people have come to expect from the Battlefield series that we had in Battlefield 3 and 4, like tanks and jets. There's no tanks in Hardline, there's no jets in Hardline. You have an attack helicopter, and you have armored cars, but you don't actually have like a giant tank that you can ride on the ground, and you don't have any. It really doesn't focus so much on air combat besides the helicopter. So for a lot of people, they didn't like that because they love their jets and they love their tanks from Battlefield 3 and 4, and they feel like Hardline was a downgrade because it did not have those vehicles present. But I really didn't mind it that much because it felt like a different experience as a result, and I actually liked it that it focused a little bit more on infantry than Battlefield 3 and 4, where you could just destroy everybody with a tank or a jet, and it really focused so heavily on vehicular combat. Even though you do have people using their helicopters, and you do have people, they have a machine gun turret on top of a lot of the cars, so there is some vehicular combat involved, but it still is focused mostly on infantry, at least compared to the previous Battlefield games. And I actually like that because I'm an infantry guy. I'm really not too crazy about riding tanks and flying jets and flying helicopters that much. I just like to be on the ground, and I like to shoot people with my gun. That's why I play Battlefield. And I love Battlefield because you have that large-scale warfare feel, and that's still present in Hardline. You can see in the gameplay, 64 players, especially in the small map that I'm playing in. It's really intense. It really is. So I would say the gameplay is really fun, and the game is still a lot of fun in 2021. That if you haven't played it before, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by how good it actually is, especially considering how many people were shitting on this game back in the day and were saying that it was the worst Battlefield game of all time. I actually did hear a lot of people saying that back in 2015, which I think is ridiculous. It's far from the worst. It's actually a really good game. I don't have too many complaints about Hardline, except for Team Deathmatch. Team Deathmatch is awful. I would not recommend you play TDM with Battlefield Hardline because the ticket values are so high. You have to get 600 kills in order to win the match, and there's a 60-minute time limit. Like, Team Deathmatch goes on longer than Conquest. This whole Conquest game, I edited it a little bit for, so it could all fit in the commentary, but it was a 20-minute match. A 20-minute match of Conquest compared to the Team Deathmatch games that I've had, where it can go to like 30, 35, sometimes 40 minutes. And that's just crazy. It's crazy that Team Deathmatch lasts longer than Conquest in this game, because that's not supposed to be, that's not the point of TDM. Team Deathmatch is supposed to be a quick game of Battlefield compared to Conquest being a longer experience. But in Hardline, they got it reversed. Team Deathmatch is longer than Conquest, which makes no sense to me. But yeah, I like Conquest quite a bit. I think it's actually my favorite game mode, even though Blood Money is really fun. It's kind of like Capture the Flag, but instead of capturing the flag, you're capturing money, and whoever has the most money at the end is the winner. And that's really fun. And I also like Heist, which is kind of like a spin on Rush a little bit, and it's also involved with money and safes, and you have to destroy the safes and take the money out. So it's a little bit like Rush, but it's also kind of different. So I do like the game modes in Battlefield Hardline. I think the map design is also fantastic. This is probably my favorite map in the entire series because I just like the way it's laid out. I love the way that it flows. And I think the same thing could be said for most of the maps in Battlefield Hardline. There aren't too many maps that I played in this game that I'm like, oh my god, that map, I have to play that one, ugh. Like, I don't really have that feeling in Hardline, and I can't really say much about the DLC because I don't have the Premium Pass, because it's not included in EA Play on the Xbox One, even though it's included on the PC version, which I find to be very strange. But I also remember back when I was playing on the PS4 several years ago, I had the Premium Pass, and I couldn't find any matches on there, and that was a few years ago. So I can't imagine that anyone is still playing the premium content, so if you're curious about that, I wouldn't bother with even trying to install the premium content if you haven't. I definitely wouldn't buy it. They're still charging $40 for it on the Xbox One, which is insane. $40 for a 6-year-old game's DLC. But people are still playing Battlefield Hardline. They're still playing the base game in 2021. Almost every game mode you could possibly think of, you have full servers, no problem, which is awesome because this game is really fucking fun. I have a really good time playing it. It's, you know, if you've played any of the other Battlefield games before, it won't feel too foreign to you. I mean, the only main difference, like I said, is really just the way that the vehicles are handled in this game, but it's still a Battlefield experience at its core. You do have some destructibility, and you also have the same classes as the other Battlefield games. You know, you have the Assault class with the medic bag, and you can revive people, but then you also have the Engineer that can destroy vehicles and can repair vehicles, and you also have the Recon class, which is pretty much a sniper. So it still is a Battlefield game at its core. If you have played the other Battlefield games before, I do think that you will have fun with Hardline in 2021. It still holds up really good. The servers are still alive on console, at least. If you're on PC, like I said, just don't even think about it. But 6 years later, I think it's definitely still worth playing, especially if you have EA Play or Game Pass Ultimate, because it costs you nothing extra. You could play it right now without paying anything for it. But that's Battlefield Hardline in 2021. Let me know in the comments down below if you still play this game 6 years later, and if you still have fun playing it in 2021. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.